"21st Century Entrepreneurship" with Martin Piskarik.
My name is Robin Hills. I'm an emotional intelligence coach, trainer, and facilitator. I'm highly delighted to be featured on the 21st Century Entrepreneurship podcast with Martin, because I've recently been working on a very specific field that highlights the need for 21st century entrepreneurs. And that's the area of artificial intelligence with emotional intelligence. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the way in which we combine our thinking with our feelings to make good quality decisions and build up authentic relationships. Emotional intelligence is what defines us as human beings, and what emotional intelligence gives us is the ability to be entrepreneurial. This is a function that is inherently missing from artificial intelligence. It will never appear within artificial intelligence because artificial intelligence systems do not have emotions. And so artificial intelligence systems cannot make judgments and decisions based on values and ethics. Artificial intelligence systems cannot strategically plan for the future. They can't adapt to ever-changing situations, and they can't network. They can't build up relationships with people over a long period of time. I first started my career in the field of selling and sales. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, creating and building relationships with hospital doctors within the teaching hospitals of London and the surrounding districts. This required high levels of emotional intelligence. I didn't realize it at the time, but I also wondered why some doctors were very stressed in their role and had no time for me, and relatively often had no time for their patients. Yet similar doctors doing a similar job in a similar discipline were very relaxed, had a load of time for me, and had lots of time for their patients. The difference being, as I discovered many years later, it was down to the way in which they managed their emotions, their emotional intelligence. It wasn't until I'd been through a number of job role changes and redundancies that I came across this construct that is emotional intelligence, and felt that really that this was the big gateway to my future. I saw it as an opportunity to go out into the big wide world and to help people to understand what emotional intelligence is, what it's all about, and how it can be used to create success through improved performance. Again, by making good quality decisions and building up authentic relationships. When I was setting my business up, that was down to the fact that I had been made redundant, or no, I hadn't been made redundant. My role had been made redundant 3 times. And I decided, I can make myself redundant here. So I set up my business, and I appreciated at the time that because most of my experience was in the pharmaceutical industry, and I wanted to broaden my level of experience to bring emotional intelligence to a wider audience, that I needed to make some different decisions. I needed to create different relationships. So I joined a number of local networking groups, and these are networking groups that are set up for business entrepreneurs to build up relationships with people over a long period of time. Now, I joined these networking groups, must be about 14, 15 years ago, because that's how long ago I've been running my business. But some of the relationships that I built up over that period of time, or that long ago, are still very, very relevant business relationships that are ongoing today. For example, my accountant is somebody who I met at the networking event. I didn't know any accountants prior to joining the networking events. I'm having a conversation with a digital marketeer this week. I haven't spoken to him for about 4 or 5 years, but I met him and built up a really good relationship at the networking events. So what I would encourage your listeners to do, Martin, is to really look at the quality of the relationships that they've got. Are those relationships there to help you? And are you building those relationships in order to help other people? It's a two-way street. Many people think that when they go out into networking, it's what can I get from this particular meeting? What can I get from this relationship? No, it doesn't work that way. It's what is it that I can give into this relationship in order that I can get something out of it. And it might not be anything of any monetary value. It might just be an idea. It might be a comment. It might be something that resonates and pushes your thought process into a completely different direction in order that you can make a different type of decision. And again, if I go back to what I was talking about a few moments earlier, these are the sort of things that artificial intelligence cannot do, can never do. And these are the sort of things that can't really be built into algorithms. So the key here is to emotionally engage with people when you are setting up your business. Now, I do appreciate how difficult, how emotionally difficult it is to walk into a room full of strangers and start networking. That is probably one of the most challenging things that you will have to do as an entrepreneur who is going out into the field of networking. The thing to do is to recognize that emotionally you probably will not be in a good place. It doesn't feel particularly pleasant, but push yourself through that barrier. Utilize those unpleasant emotions of anxiety, nervousness, a level of distress there, emotional distress. Push yourself through those barriers. Utilize those emotions because they're very relevant for you, both physiologically and psychologically, to put you in the right place in order to have conversations, good conversations with people, and start building up relationships. Many people think of emotional resilience as the capacity to bounce back. What I would like to do is to dispel that myth. Resilience is nothing to do with bouncing. What resilience has got to do with is understanding that life really does not go in the way in which you want it to go at all times. You've got to create the environment that you want in order to build up your success. Now, this is going to be incredibly challenging. There are going to be times when things really do not go your way at all. And what you've got to do is to have a realistic level of optimism. You've got to understand that things that might not work out, but optimistically look at what it is that you can do. Put yourself in control. What is it that you can creatively do to make a difference? Recognize that life has some meaning and work with your values in order to deliver the goals that you're intending to work towards. And to do so with a degree of joy in your heart and with gratitude. All of these things will make you both emotionally resilient, and it will give you the grit that you need in order to tackle the challenges that the world throws at you. Some of the real key traits and qualities that you need in order to be more resilient is to be creative. It's having this adaptability to work up new innovative solutions to problems. Have a mindset for solving problems. Be proactive. The important thing within resilience and developing resilience is to be socially active and to build up networks. Machine technology is often regarded as having a degree of resilience built into it. We're not machines. We are human beings. And so what we have to do is to look at levels of vulnerability and emotional vulnerability and just to accept that there are going to be times when we find things very, very challenging. We find things very, very stressful. Well, there are going to be certain situations, there are going to be certain events that make us incredibly annoyed and incredibly angry. Now, I don't consider anger to be a negative emotion. Anger is a positive emotion if you can utilize it and work with it in order to right a wrong or in order to drive yourself forward to do something different and to make a difference. So the important thing is to recognize when you're feeling angry, recognize what it is that makes you feel angry, and work with that anger in a very positive way in order to make the changes that you need to right that wrong, or to work with your values in a very positive way and engage other people to work with your values in a more positive way. This year, I have developed a number of new online courses. One of my focuses, of course, has been in the field of artificial intelligence versus emotional intelligence, to bring to the world the knowledge that I've got to bear and the abilities that I've got to bear around developing emotional intelligence, with the threat of artificial intelligence taking over from us as human beings. Now, having concluded that course, I'm now working on a completely different course, and that's risk management with emotional intelligence. I'm hoping to have that finished in the next few days or in the next few weeks. And then my goal is to have at least 3 or 4 new courses completed by the end of October. Here we are in July 2024. So I've got about 3 or 4 months left in order to achieve my goal. It's very, very realistic. I've got to build into that client-facing activities, workshops that I'm running both live and virtually, and also some travel that I've got planned. I need a break. I need a holiday. So do you. So the important thing is to build that into your working schedule and don't let it stress you out, because you need to take a holiday and it compounds all your work. So look at what is realistic and set yourself a target to try and achieve it. Set yourself a stretch goal, something that's going to challenge you, but ensure that it's not such a stretch goal that it's like a piece of elastic and it gets so stretched that it snaps. Because the important thing is to keep yourself mentally alert and functioning at appropriate mental level. This construct of emotional intelligence seems very, very complex, and to be fair, it is. What I do that is different within this field is I make emotional intelligence much more relevant to people on a day-to-day basis. So all of my online courses are supported with practical activities that enable people to look at the practical application of emotional intelligence within their own circumstances. So when we're looking at the practical application of emotional intelligence in the field of, say, for example, artificial intelligence, what does that mean? How can you future-proof yourself in order that your career remains sound for the future? The way in which I do that is to build in practical activities that get you to focus in on your emotional intelligence skills. So how do you use empathy currently? How do you build up relationships with people currently? How do you work in a strategic way currently? How do you work with innovation? How do you work with intuition? How do you work with all of these areas that make us inherently human, that separate us from artificial intelligence? If I can encourage people to do that through my courses by identifying what it is that they are currently doing, we can then look at honing those skills and making those skills future-proof, because the future is bright, the future is wonderful, but the future needs to be dominated by human beings. And we can make the difference to the world because we are human beings, we have emotions, and we have the most complicated tool that is available in the known universe, and that's the human brain. At the beginning of 2024, I was awarded an honorary doctorate by a Mexican university, having been nominated by an Indian company. Now, I'm humbled and I'm very proud to have been honored this honorary doctorate. The doctorate is in advanced psychological studies, and it was awarded to me for a number of reasons. One, because of the work that I do in the field of emotional intelligence, But honorary doctorates are not given out just to anybody. They actually support individuals who give back into the community. And over the last 7 years, I've been working with a local charity here in my hometown of Bolton, which is Bolton Lads and Girls Club. And this is a charity that has been set up. It's been running for about 150 years, supporting disadvantaged children and young adults. And I've been mentoring a number of disadvantaged young lads who just need a mentor, just need an adult friend to help and support them and encourage them. Now, the last young lad I've been mentoring was a deaf lad. And at the time when I was matched with this young deaf lad, the Bolton Lads and Girls Club wasn't aware of the fact that I'm actually quite deaf. And so the two of us have got quite a lot in common. Now, he's absolutely brilliant in terms of sign language and in terms of communicating with people through sign language. He doesn't need to, because he can speak as well and as eloquently as I can. And it actually turns out that I'm probably more deaf than he is. But what I have been able to do with him is to really bring his deafness to the fore so that it's not a problem for him. In actual fact, it now becomes a superpower for him. And it enables him to be able to engage with the world by helping people to understand that he's got an ability to communicate with them at a very deep level, because he's actually learning to listen, or he's learned to listen at a very deep level and engage with people empathetically through his deafness. Now, he was a cheeky young lad, or he is a cheeky young lad, but I can give him as good as I get. And the two of us had a wonderful relationship over the time that we were matched. I was able to encourage him to look at where his education took him for the future. And we found out that the local college has a wonderful deaf school for advanced studies. And so he's now looking forward to continuing his education at the local college. And he was able to present a workshop on the basics of sign language for the carers and the volunteers and the trainers at Bolton Lads and Girls Club, right at the end of our mentoring program. Now, the great thing, I was very, very proud of him, because the delivery of this workshop was far better than a lot of professional trainers that I've had the pleasure of engaging with over the years. So that is something that I'm immensely proud of. And like I say, if that drove me towards getting the honorary doctorate, then I can actually be very proud to call myself Dr. Robin Hills, honoris causa. My focus has always been around developing people and helping people to engage with the environment that they find themselves in the most positive way. My company is EI for Change, Emotional Intelligence for Change. And so I work with change at the personal level, the team level, and the organizational level. And over the years, I've developed a whole range of courses, and I was delivering these live courses for many, many years as I set my business up. And then it moved into the online space about 10 years ago. And I recognized that there was an opportunity to bring all my knowledge to bear in online courses. And I had about 20 courses available when COVID hit. And during the pandemic, everybody was then scrabbling to try and get all of their training online. Well, I'd already done it. So all I had to do was to shore up the courses, look at the quality, make sure that they gave people an immersive experience, and build up more quality courses based on the foundation that I'd already set. My courses are available through my website, eiforchange.com. But for the purposes of this podcast, I've put together a particular course which I'm offering free of charge. And this is a Working with Mindfulness course. And it's available at www.emotional.intelligence.courses/mindfulness. And if you put all of that into your URL, it will take you to the free course. Please sign up and experience what emotional intelligence is all about, what my online courses are all about, through the power of mindfulness.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.